Greetings and welcome back to CS195 Web Development. This is week 9, DOM modification, right? So remember from last week, we were looking at just the basics of adding it in with the script tag and then having to use DOM to actually select it. Well, and then how to select by ID, multiple elements. Now we're on to actually doing some changing, right? So again, all this stuff that you're going to learn in the next few lessons, you can do just by changing CSS or just modifying HTML. But you need to be able to learn how to do this so when we get to week 10 and we learn how to make it interactive, you can do all kinds of changes with the click of a button, right? That's kind of where we're going. So again, everything we're doing now, realize we're going to be able to, you could literally just do it with HTML at this point because it's just going to happen as soon as the web page loads. However, again, it leads up to going for events. So our objective for this lesson is to understand how to select an element, then change an attribute. Remember what attributes are. They're items inside of that first tag that allow you to give information about the tag, the ID, the source, href, which if you catch what we're doing, we can change the picture. So we change a picture. So students will demonstrate changing the SRC of an image using JavaScript given a file path, right? So basically what that's saying is at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to change an image as soon as the web page loads. Whereas, again, once we get to events, you'll actually learn you can click on something, a button, and then change a photo. For now, basically, as soon as the page loads, it's just going to change it. But we'll learn how to do that. So later, be able to. So we'll watch the con video real quick. And remember, she's changing this web page to cats as she goes through. So that's kind of what's going to happen. She's going to change these photos to cat photos. That's kind of the point of the project that she's working on. But there's lots of other, all kinds of different attributes that you can change as you're going through this, right? There's all kinds of different attributes that we can change. All right, got the video to work. Let's watch it.
I'm back with my webpage about dogs, and I am very determined to use JavaScript and the DOM API to turn it into a web page entirely about cats instead. There is an elephant in the room that I've been ignoring. Well, actually, there's a dog in the room. 2 dogs, in fact. These images! I can't have images of these adorable dogs on my page about adorable cats. I need to change them. So, let's start by finding the images using getElements by tag name. Var image else equals document.getElements by tag name img. Okay. Now, since that returns multiple elements, we need to use a for loop to iterate through them. So I'll set that up. Var I equals 0. I is less than image else dot length I plus plus. Okay, but what do I put inside the for loop? I can't change image elements with inner HTML because image tags don't have an inner HTML. They're auto-closing tags. Instead, I need to change the thing about them that makes them look like dogs. The URL of the pictures. The thing that's specified with the SRC attribute in each of the tags. We can change attributes of elements using dot notation. Let me show you. First, we access the current element with bracket notation. And then we say dot, and we put the HTML attribute name as the JavaScript property name, SRC, equals, and then we set it to some new value. And I'll just put an empty string. Notice the images went blank, since an empty string doesn't point at any image at all. To figure out what this new URL should be, I'm going to paste the old URL here and change the file name to cat, because I happen to know that that's the URL of the cat image on Khan Academy. Yay! The dogs are now cats, and our catification is mostly complete.
And do notice, and should probably go over this, it does change all of them. So this might be one of those times where you do want to give each of them an ID. You can change them to different pictures of cats. But again, remember this is a link to another web page. If you were doing this on 00 web host or any kind of local thing, it would be just the path to the file. So maybe just animals/cat and all the rest of it you wouldn't actually need. So again, depending on what you have, maybe that's pics/cat. Those are different things that you can change. And there's lots of different attributes, right? I could change the link. I think that might be what's going over next. I can change the link of it because href is an attribute, right? And you can see it's just inner HTML is working the same way for this. A lot of it is just whatever the image is, or whatever the element is, dot whatever you're changing. All right, that's kind of the theme for this. You're going whatever the element is, dot what you're changing, dot HTML, dot inner HTML, dot source, dot href. So again, we'll finish this up real quick and then test it out.
Do you see anything else that still has to do with dogs? It's really subtle, but there is one thing left, the link to Wikipedia. It's going to the dogs page, and if the viewer follows it, they're going to catch on to my nasty trick. So I want to send them to cats instead. How should I find that link in JavaScript? I could give this link an ID and use getElementById, or I could use getElementsByTagName and change all of the links on the page, or I could be really super fancy and find only links that go to pages about dogs using a CSS query selector. Let me show you the CSS query that I want to do up here in the style tag first. So this CSS query is going to find all links that have to do with dogs. First, I'm going to type A, because I'm just looking for links. Then I'm going to say brackets href star equal dog. So this tells CSS to match any link that has dog in it. And then we'll set the color to purple. Ta-da! It selected it. So that's pretty neat, and this is an attribute selector, and there's a lot of neat ways to use attribute selectors to really dig deep into your document. So now to find that in JavaScript, we can use document.querySelectorAll. So I'll say var link_else equals document.querySelectorAll, and then we can just go and paste in the selector that we just made. Although we do have to make sure that we escape our double quotes. Here we go. All right, so now it looks like a good string. And now I need to iterate through these. So once again, we just do our for loop, and we should be getting really used to doing these for loops. I++. And for each of them, I want to change the link to the web page about cats on Wikipedia. So I'm going to say link_else_i.href, because that's the name of the attribute that we're changing, and then equals, and I'll go find this URL and paste it down here and just change it to cat, because I'm pretty sure that's the URL of that page. Ta-da!
All right, so let's go ahead and try this out real quick. Head back over to Trinket with full screen. Make something that you can see. You can see now we're going to have a little bit more web page so we can make things change. So the key is I have an ID, right? I have an ID. So I'm going to just change. I'm not going to loop through all the pictures. I'm going to just change the good pick is what I'm going to change. So let's first go ahead and get the ID. And then we can make changes. So let's go ahead. We're just going to do the source. So let's go var pick l equals document.getElement because it's just one by ID, and it was good pick. semicolon, double check, yep, good pick, it matches. So let's go ahead and change the src on this, pick l.src. And again, remember, you could have also just done this all in one line if you wanted to. We just practice both src. Again, we'll give you the same results. But this would, if we wanted to change other attributes or changes about it, we could. So then we just need to actually go ahead and grab a photo, which I happen to have at the bottom of here, and paste it. And instead of good, we're now awesome, right? We now have an awesome pick. That's much better. And as we go through this, we can change stuff. So there's all kinds of different things that you can change. As we go through this, the source, we can change the target, we can change anything that's an attribute, we can change. There are specific things. I mean, ID is the same concept, just .id. Class is a little different, is class name. We'll go into that later. But that's it, right? You get the element, and then whatever you're changing, it's normally just whatever that attribute is. So src, and then what would be in that attribute. That's really all you need to know about this is what is the attribute? That's what the dot is. And then what would you change it to? That's what it equals. And that's the same thing for href and a lot of these going through as we go through. And again, we know what inner HTML does. So that's how you change these attributes. If you have any questions, again, you can watch the video again, then finish up the challenge, the exercises, the journal entry, and we'll see you next lesson.